First of all, I want to get your reaction, Stephen, to the post-season interview with Man City chairman Khaldoon Al Mubarak and some of the key quotes that came out of that last week. The chairman's reflected on what's been a challenging 24-25 season. He's said that there are a lot of lessons learned, a lot of experiences that City will never forget, a lot of challenges that he and the club have never dealt with before. But the culmination of all that is an experience that he believes will be invaluable for the club going forward. And he repeatedly spoke about, turning a new page, starting afresh, and the rebuilding of a new squad now is one of the main aims for the club this summer. One of the interesting points that the chairman made was that he felt that City should have been more aggressive in last summer's transfer market, and that ultimately ended up costing City this year. So I'm sure you agree with that, Stephen. And are you pleased that as a
Mhm.
fan that City have acknowledged that that was a mistake really on their part to not strengthen further after winning a fourth successive Premier League title? Because as we know, you can't stand still in football and let your rivals catch up with you. And unfortunately, that's what happened for City this season.
Obviously, as a City fan, it's great to hear that they're self-reflecting and looking at where we went wrong this season. I think it's very obvious the mistakes that City made. Guardiola's come out and admitted it, to be fair to him, and he sort of pointed the finger at himself as well. He said that he was the one who personally resisted sort of sweeping changes to the squad last year because he wanted to go again with those players. It's very hard to say no to Pep Guardiola, given what he's achieved at Manchester City. Just won 4 leagues in a row at that point, a treble the season before, and he wanted to trust his players again. Fair enough. Look, in hindsight, of course, it's a lot easier to say this. I mean, there were signs the play's slowing down a bit anyway. There were signs of injuries kicking in and so on, and it felt like the right time even after the treble because largely, usually when you reach the very top, you can't beat a treble. You're going to go down. Some players are naturally going to dip because their motivation just does change, and we saw that immediately. We definitely saw it the season after as well. Even though City still won the league, it was nowhere near as fluid. Some of the players, dipped a little bit in terms of form. So it was definitely there, and I think City made a massive mistake, and I think Guardiola, he's admitted that, and also Khaldoon, the City's chairman, has come out and admitted that City made mistakes in not aggressively refreshing this squad and getting that new hunger in. And look, all you can ask for is, as a fan, is a board and management team that learn from their mistakes. We all make mistakes, or at least it'd be weird of us as City fans to sit here and dwell on it too much, given what they've achieved. They are the most successful leadership in football over the past decade or so. They've been absolutely phenomenal. But they only make mistakes because they're human. Like everyone makes mistakes, and I think City sentimentality got in the way a little bit. Maybe the obsession with sort of keeping the squad consistent. Maybe looking at the financial fair play and all the other monetary side of things. I do think that played into it a little bit. Um, it was wrong. They should have changed it, but they are now. The quotes were forthright. They were honest. They were clearly considered, and I think the intentions are very clear of City to come into the next season with new ideas, new motivations, new hunger, and see a very different Manchester City Football Club. And I can only take the chairman's word on that because he usually is a man of his word. He is, to be honest. He's a winner. He's a winner, and he only puts the right people around him to succeed in his ambitions.
Yeah, and a lot seems to be going on already at City in terms of potential incomings. And the chairman's come out and said that they've clearly identified who exactly are the targets in what positions. They've got number one and number two targets. And he's added that they'll go about their business in a very clear, very swift manner. And City's objective is to be ready with a new squad in time for the Club World Cup, which begins just in a couple of weeks' time. So City are not messing about here. The rebuild, of course, started in January with four players coming in, but how exciting and how important is it now for City to be making these moves so early in the summer window?
Yeah, I think in previous years it's gone on quite late, but I think it's very obvious that City, given the Club World Cup, not only is it something they want to win because of the prestige of it and it's a new competition and so on, but I also think it's just a massive distraction in the middle of the summer transfer window. So you've got to get in early, really, because if you don't, you're going to lose a lot of ground. You're going to lose some targets because look, even though business can be done and so on, they won't be able to join. It's just a massive distraction for the club. So tidying up some loose ends this early on would be great. And I think we've already seen signs of it. Khaldoon said that they had a clear number one and a clear number two target, and they would move on very swiftly if it wasn't attainable. I think we've already seen that. We'll get onto individuals a little bit more detail later, I'm sure. But look, it wasn't exactly hidden that City were in pursuit of Florian Wirtz from Leverkusen. Not Leverkusen, yeah, Leverkusen. No, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think of Frankfurt because of Marmouche, but yeah, I'm
Ah, yeah.
tired. But it's Leverkusen, yeah, and unfortunately, City moved on for whatever reason. They cited the financial issues. I felt it was just sort of saving face because he chose Liverpool. But no, based on reports today, maybe it is the financial package. Liverpool apparently are still negotiating to try and get the fee down. But either way, City moved on, and within 2 or 3 days, the links to Ryan Cherky of Lyon emerged. Very obviously the number two approach there, and I think City have a very swift plan to move on quickly and decisively. And I think he's honest. I think he's telling the truth there, and I think it's a really good idea. Look, if you can get the likes of Rangers and Cherky and people like that, and just new signings in general for the Club World Cup, that fresh energy and a fresh tournament, there's a real excitement around that for those new players to impress Guardiola because they won't be ready to be a pre-season given the schedule. Look, you have to get them in now, do a little bit of work together, and start building for the future now. Like there's no time like the present. Like any progress we can make during the Club World Cup, and it'll only be a few games, admittedly, as a team, is a step in the right direction. If you can integrate, say we sign those two, Rangers and Shirky, maybe another will join, integrate them. But then with the likes of Echeverri, who had a touch of football towards the end of the season, Nico Gonzalez can play a bit more, Kustanov can play a bit more, Oscar Bob can finally start his rehabilitation, Rodri can as well. And all of a sudden, Manchester City look a very different side to last season, and in a good way. That new energy, those new ideas, they'll carry City into the season in a an optimistic bubble of and that you'd think that's what City's plans are, just to get in early, get it settled, and then really start to build because it's going to take a new formation, new ideas, and I think that's what Guardiola wants as well.
Yeah, and Khaldoon Al Mubarak also was asked about sort of what player would are you most excited to watch next season, and his response was just short and sweet. He just said, "Well, get ready, we'll see, you'll see," and that's almost suggesting that it could be a new player, a new signing. So do you expect maybe a big name, a statement signing to come in at City?
I think it'd be Shirky, surely, like the most mercurial young gifted talent arguably the most mercurial talent in football right now. You'd think it'd be him. Look, if I was chairman, I'd want to sign people like Ryan Shirky. The ones where they're sort of the ones that you make you love football all over again. Just magic, can do anything with either foot. Yeah, it could be a big superstar name. I don't know who that would be. I can't really think of anyone realistically attainable. Your head goes to people like the Barcelona wonder kids, but Lamine Yamal is not available. Pedri's not available. They're not realistic. Verts, of course, we know that's not going to happen. You're not going to get someone like Musiala. I, I don't think someone like Morgan Rogers or Palmer coming back to City would be what he's on about, and that's not possible either. And after that, like, well, who is it? Who could it really be? Like, I don't know, Rodrigo, Real Madrid, potentially. Well, I'm very overexposed there. Let me just sort my camera out. There we go. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who it could be other than maybe just the players that we're linked to. And I think the two players that we're currently linked to heavily would elicit that response. As a City fan, the thought of Tijana Reinders in Manchester City's midfield massively excites me. The best midfielder in Italy, a wonderfully gifted, majestic footballer. Yeah, hugely exciting. But then Ryan Shirky, like, oh, come on. Like, honestly, mercurial. I don't think I'm exaggerating here because I've seen the stats and they sort of back it up, but it feels like he's having these sort of De Bruyne at Wolfsburg-esque season where he's having, an absurd level of creativity. And I've seen the metrics when you see the graph, and he's like one of those guys who's right up in the top corners as an anomaly alongside a De Bruyne or a Messi or something like that. A ridiculously high volume creator with either foot, controls the ball perfectly from any speed, from any angle. It dictates the tempo of the game as well. It's got La Pausa, as Guardiola loves. Knows how to delay a pass, two-footed. Wonderful ball striker, great finisher, great passer, just joyous. So I reckon it'll be him. You can only think it'd be him, or maybe he's been watching Echeverri in training and he can't wait to see. Maybe he's been watching Rodri come back and he looks even better than ever. Maybe Oscar Bob is firing in training too. I don't know, but I think he's excited for good reason.